Good Day Giving crew is surprising and delighting lucky viewers just like you.
We're here to make your day.
Do you know someone who deserves a little extra sunshine in their day? Scan the QR code and nominate them now.
Thanks, Les Schwab, for bringing this happy day to me.
All right, where's your next?
The Good Day Giving crew, sponsored by Les Schwab.
It's election night 2025, and the voting period is officially over.
Our drop boxes close at 8 p.m. sharp.
An off-year election with big races at the local level.
We feel really good. We think our message is resonating with people, and they see the contrast.
If people vote, and especially if younger people vote, that's really going to mean the difference.
Seattle is one of many cities selecting a mayor, and the top job in King County is up for grabs.
Our coalition includes the governor, the attorney general, and more state-level elected officials than any other candidate.
I'm the only candidate who's got deep executive experience doing all of those things.
Hard-fought campaigns, and here comes the results. Our team is standing by to bring you complete coverage.
Your votes are cast, and it's time to find out what you decide.
Well, good evening, and thank you for joining us on this election night. I'm David Rose.
And I'm Hannah Kim. We are just minutes away from getting the first batch of results in the 2025 general election, and we are bringing you live team coverage of tonight's biggest races with crews spread out across Seattle, Everett, and Tacoma.
Watch parties are packed with supporters while candidates are waiting in the wings to claim victory, concede defeat, or maybe just end the night on a cliffhanger.
So let's run through some of the top races that we are watching. Of course, Seattle voters deciding the next mayor between incumbent Bruce Harrell and challenger Katie Wilson. In the August primary, you may recall Wilson led Harrell by about 10 points.
In Tacoma, voters are selecting a mayor. This is an open race between John Hines and Anders Ibsen. Both candidates have experience on Tacoma City Council. In the primary, Ibsen had the edge with 38% of the vote, while Hines took 19%. Another big race is the mayor's race at Everett. Cassie Franklin has held the position for 8 years. She's now challenged by former city council member Scott Murphy. It was a razor-thin margin between the two in the primary, each taking about 35% of the vote. Murphy leading by less than 1 point back in August. At the county level, King County is selecting its next executive. Girmay Zahilay and Claudia Balducci are both current members of the King County Council. Zahilay led Balducci by about 14 points in the primary, but recent polling suggests this race will be a tight one.
And there's one measure that was on the ballot all across Washington. That's Resolution 8201. This is a constitutional amendment that would allow payroll taxes collected right now by Washington for long-term care to be invested in the stock market instead of low-yielding government bonds. The long-term care measure is also known as the Washington Cares Fund, which was first passed by the legislature back in 2019, establishing a mandatory payroll tax. For people paying attention to this issue, a similar constitutional amendment request was put to the voters back in 2020, asking for that money to be invested into the stock market, but people said no in 2020. They voted that down. So supporters of this measure, they're back at it again this year, hoping the outcome will be different. Again, in just a few minutes, we will have some concrete numbers to dissect, to provide insight and perspective on all of this. We have our political analyst, Sandeep Kaushik. Sandeep, nice to have you.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So
let's talk about tonight, Sandeep. You've worked on a lot of political campaigns in the past. What are you expecting tonight? Any big surprises, any big sweeps, or lay the table for us, if you will?
Yeah, well, look, if you look at the primary results, you know, there's a possibility here that we could see kind of a left sweep, right? Not only in the city of Seattle races, but in the kind of legislative races as well. We may see kind of more left-leaning candidates winning out, right? And so that's something I'm looking for. Is there something different between this general election and the initial results we get and what we saw in the primary with left-leaning candidates who are doing really, really well? That's a big thing. The Seattle mayor's race, obviously, you know, that a race with national interest and implications. You know, we've got a socialist running against the incumbent mayor. So I'm going to be looking at that initial number 2. I think the mayor really needs to be up comfortably in tonight's count, because the later counts are going to, if history is our guide, are going to trend left.
What is that margin that he has to be at to feel like he's comfortable enough going?
You know, when you look at the history of the last 3 mayoral races, probably he'd want to be up at least 8 points, 9 points to really realistically have a shot of winning.
Right.
How much do you think the Trump effect is going to have on this? Because we're seeing on the East Coast a lot of Democrats winning tonight, and they're saying it's because they came out strong against Trump. Will that have an impact on our local elections here?
It already has. I think the Trump effect has been very, very real. We've been talking about this since the primary. It really changed the psychology of voters in Seattle. This is obviously a very progressive city. It's a very progressive region. I think the policies of the Trump administration and the fact that he's gone after blue cities like Seattle has really pulled voters back into more of a defensive crouch. They really want to double down on the progressive values that sort of guide the city. So I think it's already having a significant impact on how people are perceiving the state of play politically, both locally and nationally.
Yeah, Sandeep, as we were telling our viewers here, we do have reporters spanned across, and of course we have Jennifer Dowling, and she's at Bruce Harrell's watch party. So Jennifer, break down kind of what the mood is there right now, because any minute now those numbers are going to drop.
That's right. So the mood here is one of excitement, and it is packed in here. As you can see, there's people kind of going in front of the camera here because there are a lot of supporters here in order to hear what's happening with that election. First count, as Mayor Bruce Harrell said tonight. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see just how many people here. They are anticipating the mayor, the incumbent in this race, to step up to the podium here in just a few minutes. He just took the stage to give some brief remarks. He said he couldn't be more proud of the team that fought with him for the last 90 days. He says they are, quote, secured in the history books and presented the strongest platform. He said it took a lot of hard work, and he says they had to emphasize and see it through, empathize with people, rather, and see things through their lens. He feels that has been one of the successes of his campaign. He says things really kicked off 90 days ago, and he hasn't taken a break since, and many of his campaign members have not either, as it's been a full court press in order to get to this moment. He did say that this moment is a little nerve-wracking for him for this first drop of votes, but he says he also has a sense of calm and peace and confidence. He says it's his family that's truly nervous. He kind of joked around there. He says they have butterflies in their stomach. This here is an invite-only event, so these are all supporters of Harrell's, but again, very excited to see him react to those first results in this first read. So he told us he'd be taking the stage in 5 to 8 minutes. So we're just waiting. That was a little bit ago, so he might have gotten a little bit of a delay. But again, we're waiting for those first votes to come in. And we'll bring you his reaction as soon as we can right here and at fox13seattle.com. Back to you.
All right, Jennifer, thank you. And yes, the first vote total should come in about 8:15, 8:20, kind of depends. But we will have those for you live here, and everybody will be watching at these parties. Katie Wilson having a watch party tonight. Alejandro Guzman is there. Alejandro, what is the mood there tonight?
Oh, David, I would say it's not a competition, but it truly is. It's a competition of democracy here, because if you take a look around, this room is jam-packed. We're literally standing in the middle of the room, in between the crowd. Everyone here is shoulder to shoulder. The food has been devoured. The drinks are starting to flow, but the excitement is definitely felt here. Tonight is going to be a big night, historic night, not just for Katie Wilson, but for the entire city of Seattle. If she's to win, she could be the third ever woman to be elected as the mayor of Seattle. We're starting to hear some cheering. There's a lot of folks that are glued to their phones just hitting that refresh button. And we're struggling with a little signal connectivity here because it's just that packed in here. We're seeing that folks are actually spreading outside and spilling into the outside of El Centro de la Plaza. And of course, I can't leave you without statistics. I'll get into that just a little bit later, but let's just say that I was able to speak with Katie Wilson ahead of this first vote drop, and she says that she too is feeling a little nervous. She's got some butterflies in her stomach, but she is very confident in what her campaign has done. She says that she's been able to connect with the working class, and she's gotten a sense that Seattle truly needs and is desperate for a change, not just in City Hall, but when it comes to affordable housing and, of course, creating solutions to cope and deal with the homelessness crisis. Here's what she had to say. Oh, just kidding. We're actually not going to hear from her just yet, but I can also, talking about those stats, Katie Wilson leads with 51% of the vote. She says that she's been very popular with younger voters, especially the 18-year-olds who have come up to her and just have thanked her for her service so far. And she says that not only is she inspired by them, but again, tonight, these votes are going to make a big difference in this mayor's race. We're going to hear from her just a little bit later, but already we're starting to hear some of that chanting. As soon as it turned 8 o'clock, the entire crowd has been erupting. Everybody here is super excited. Everyone's smiling so far, so you're going to have to check back in and hear for yourself exactly when we know a little bit more what those numbers actually look like. Back to you guys.
Okay, yeah, we will dissect that a little bit more. It sounds like what Ali is saying is that they're seeing some numbers come in, but again, we will revisit that in just a second. We do want to go to AJ Janival over in Tacoma. AJ is covering the Tacoma mayoral race, and of course that one is also a big one down the South Sound. And AJ, we know that Anders Ibsen initially was leading, in the August primary on top of John Hines, just, squeaking ahead a little bit. So of course going into tonight, John Hines probably, or Anders Ibsen, I should say, probably feeling really good. So what is the mood there right now?
Yeah, Hannah, and you're talking about those primaries. He was up nearly 20% in those votes a few weeks back when that happened. I'm looking over my shoulder. I don't know if you guys saw me kind of going back and forth like an owl because those results are starting to come in. I just cheated because the Fox 13 Seattle app has them way quicker, and then you can like search for your actual candidate you're looking for. They're scrolling, so they're going to find out that the results haven't come in here. But we are at Anders Ibsen's watch party. We are in Tacoma, and it is, I think, parties really a good word for it. They got Madonna playing in the background. I have a disco ball I see reflecting behind me. The crowd is packed. It kind of feels like we're out on the club on a Tuesday. It is high spirits right now. But again, as we mentioned, the results have not come in. On the other side of town, John Hines, we were at his party earlier. John Hines, current council member, he tells me even though those numbers in the primary were not in favor of him, he had about 20% of the vote. Ibsen had about 38%. Hines saying he still feels confident. He talked about his sports background, talking about feeling good, comparing it to a game, going into tonight like it's a game. The two of them, very similar candidates, very similar on their platforms when it comes to crime, the things that they are focusing on, what's important to them. Both of them very similar history with politics in the city. Both of them serving on council, ironically, in the same district at different times. Hines currently on council. Ibsen, a business owner. He believes that will give him a different way to look at things that some of the other folks, specifically Hines, do not have. So here we are. We're at the Ibsen watch party. We'll be bouncing back and forth. We did speak to Hines earlier. We'll be hopefully hearing from both of those candidates as the night goes on, and hopefully as we get an early look at those results. Hannah?
All right, AJ, thanks very much. We're going to go to Everett now and check in with Shira Matsuzawa. She's covering the mayor's race there. She's at Cassie Franklin's watch party. Shira.
We are here at the New Mexicans restaurant in Everett. It is the watch party for Mayor Cassie Franklin. And just moments ago, this entire room was chanting, Cassie, Cassie, Cassie. You can see her here right now. She's embracing folks right now. And this area, it's a tight area right now, but you can see it's packed. People are drinking, they're eating, they're embracing, they're hugging one another. And I actually talked with the mayor a short time ago. Oh, Mayor Franklin, we're live right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, how are you doing right now?
I'm great. I'm excited to see the votes coming in. Strong lead right now. Obviously, look forward to getting the rest of the ballots counted, but very hopeful that our positive campaign is resonating with our voters.
What has this entire campaign been like for you? I mean, this is you've been running a campaign yourself, but you've also been mayor currently as well. What's that been like?
It's a lot, right? The city of Everett is a strong mayor form of government. We have an amazing city council, but the mayor is the CEO, so I've been busy trying to run the city and run a campaign, so kind of 24/7 work, but I'm glad to have the campaign behind me and look forward to hopefully serving another 4 years as our mayor.
Well, I'll let you go because I know you're very busy, so thank you. I just kind of bombarded you right now. Thank you for talking with us. But, I also talked with the mayor earlier, and she was telling me that she's been on pins and needles, and she's very eager to get those results, as you just heard. But we also talked with her challenge challenger, Scott Murphy, who is also a former city council member, at his watch party earlier. Take a listen to what he had to tell me.
It's been a long campaign, about 18 months. We kicked it off here in this very spot, and it seems appropriate to come back here and thank all my volunteers and supporters. I feel pretty good about it. Hopefully we've communicated effectively with the voters in Everett, and it's in their hands.
Of course, we will be out here all night long watching and waiting for those results to come in, and we'll be sure to update you right here on Fox 13. I'm sure Matt's out in Everett. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Shira, so a lot of numbers. We're still waiting for those concrete numbers to come down so we can dissect them. We have a lot to unpack after a quick break. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to Election Night 2025. Katie Wilson just took the podium, so let's listen in.
The rumor that I was thinking of running for mayor, and the whole team at Wind Power for being scrappy, rock star consultants and doing such a great job guiding this campaign. And thank you to Jess, our treasurer, and to Sophia for being a trooper. Deepest thanks to Artie and to Alex who joined our campaign. Who joined our campaign as staff way back at the beginning when very few people thought that we had any chance in this race. And thank you to our phenomenal field team, to Sochi and Cecile and James and Artie. Our many super volunteers who have been leading dozens of canvases every week all around the city. And to all the union and community allies who have brought their members out to knock on doors. Collectively, we have knocked over 52,000 doors since the primary. And thank you to Matt, who joined our campaign after the primary and has been a phenomenal lead organizer, working with Alex and building relationships with communities across the city. Thank you with all my heart to every single volunteer who has stepped up to work on our social media, with videos and photos, with comms, with policy, with screen printing t-shirts, making buttons, putting up posters. And to everyone who has encouraged their friends and family and communities to vote and helped others to understand what is at stake in this race. There have been so many moving pieces in this campaign and so many people who have a hand in this campaign. And thank you finally to all the labor unions, community organizations, community leaders that took a chance and sometimes great risks supporting this campaign. Your courage is seen and appreciated. And last but certainly not least, thank you to the Transit Riders Union. And to all the members of TRU who have been doing this work with me all along the way. I am so grateful for your support and so excited to see the next chapter of TRU unfold in the years ahead. And thank you to Josie. And I am just so proud of all of you. I'm so proud that we ran a campaign rooted in hope for the future, not fear or anger. I'm proud that we ran a clean campaign, criticizing the incumbent's record and policies, but not going after his character, his lifestyle, his family, or his past. I am proud of all the voters who have seen past the bad faith attacks funded by the biggest corporate PAC in Seattle election history, almost $2 million. We don't like that. And to all of you, I'm going to tell you now what you already know. If we prevail in this race, which is very possible, it is not the end of our work together. It is the beginning. There is an awful lot that I want to accomplish as mayor. I want everyone in this great city of ours to have a roof over their head. I want universal child care and free K-8 summer care. I want world-class mass transit. Super blocks, and cheer for the super blocks.
And unfortunately, I have to be the cautiously optimistic one in this building and tell you there are still many votes to count, right? But one thing that we know from the primary election is our
Okay, so right now we went from Katie Wilson, and now as you see, we have switched over to Girmay Zahilay. He is running for King County Executive against his fellow Councilmember Claudia Balducci. He just took the podium there. Let's listen in a little bit.
Campaign to grow their vote share night in and night out. And I can't promise you that will happen this time, but I'm telling you that I have a really good feeling. I have a good feeling that tomorrow at 4 p.m., when the next results drop, that mark is going to go like this, and then like this, and then like that. So I will say that we're not quite at declaring victory tonight right here, but we feel damn good. We feel so good. And I want to reiterate all of my gratitude to all the people in this room. Thank you so much for standing with this campaign. Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you. The campaigns are the most humbling experience in the world because from your closest family members to the most distant strangers, people show up for you over and over and over again. Thank you for going out in the rain and knocking on doors. Thank you for sending text messages. Thank you for opening up your homes to host us for fun.
We're going to cut away because Bruce Harrell is speaking, but first we want to give you the latest numbers in the mayor's race.
Yeah, so right now, now we know that Katie Wilson is at 46%, and we have Harrell, the incumbent, at 53%. So we're talking about a 7% gap here. Let's go right to Harrell. We understand he took the podium. Let's listen in.
We know how votes change. I'd rather be where we are right now than where my opponent is. Let me put it that way. So now for those that have faith, then we put it in prayer, because I know everyone in here are trying to do the right thing. I said that earlier. That was my pre-warm-up speech. That in our family here, we talk about love and faith and supporting one another. We never argue. Let me put it this way. I'm usually the victim of an argument. But let me tell you, when our family argues, this one, and this one are always on my side. I pay them to be on my side. Well, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. The point about family is we're all family now. We are all family. Yes. This is a tough fight, and I could go to every table and shake every hand and talk about my history with you or my family's history with you. Many of you are friends of the family. We know, as I said earlier, that the fight we're trying to fight are to shelter and house people. We know that. We're trying to feed people. People are out of SNAP benefits. There are people hungry right now. There are people worried about where they're going to sleep right now. You care. It really upsets me when people don't think that we don't care. We've been doing this work for decades and decades. We didn't start doing this work. I have some folks out there, and I have to ask this transparently. I got every darn station here, but I don't care because the gloves are off. How did the education levy do? I didn't see any numbers on that. What? Now let's talk about that. Because I have folks here that work really, really hard on putting that together. So what's that going to present for our great people here? 4,500 slots of daycare and pre-kindergarten slots going through. $20 million in mental support for these kids who are traumatized to be able to talk to someone to get treatment. Every kid that graduates from Seattle Public Schools will be able to go to college 2 years for free. Because the city passed that. You know, I'm going to close by saying this, that the next several days, we'll all look at the ballots. We'll all, thank you for being here, Sister Don Mason. You know, be out here, too. Come around here, come up here, Don. Come on around here. You know, you the auntie. Don't try to get this way, though, auntie. It's a little... Yeah, Tony, Tania, come on up here. Come on up here. Murray, Marsh, come on up here. Come on up here. Come on here. Come on, goddaughter. Come on over, goddaughter. I have to represent the Japanese side, too. I can't just be one-sided on this deal. This is the clan right here. And you are the family now. So we're going to count each vote. We feel pretty good about this. Let me say this. We got a lot of votes at the last minute here. I mean, a lot of votes. So we are winning right now. Let's put it up in prayer. Pastor Anderson, I thought I saw Pastor Anderson here. Well, come on up here, Pastor Anderson. Come on up here. Come on up here too, Pastor Anderson. You got to... I'm going to close by saying this. Can you just say it? Not a prayer for me to win. That'd be self-serving. Just a prayer. If you want to sneak it in there, you can. No, I'm just kidding. That is not the prayer I want. I just want you to pray for everyone that needs help. This is my spiritual advisor, Pastor Carrie Anderson, right here. And you guys put those drinks down for a minute while we pray. No, this is going to be the last voice you're going to hear is Pastor Carrie Anderson. We are going to end the way we started with, is always in prayer. Okay, it's never, ever been about me. I've always said that this is about what we're trying to do here in Seattle to show this country how we get down here with love, with compassion. The whole country is right now looking at this race in particular. They're trying to see how does a Democrat sort of navigate through these very dangerous waters of implosion sometimes. I could give you a speech on that. I won't. Oh, you want to hear a speech on that? No. Newlyweds, right there. All right. So, Pastor, will you end us in prayer, and then everyone stick around and shake some hands and hug one another and celebrate where we are right now. Pastor Carrie Ann is leads in prayer.
First of all, let's give Bruce a big hand clap of praise. We believe God is on our side. We believe hope is on our side. We believe a new city is on our side. And we believe that the man that's in the seat will stay in the seat, and that is Bruce Harrell. So, Father, in the name of Jesus, we come today to say thank you for this man. Thank you for his family. Thank you for his wife, his children, the grandchildren. And we pray, God, that as this race continues, God, the race is not given to the swift nor the battle to the strong, but those that endure to the end. This man has shown himself to be one of endurance. This man has shown himself that he's not afraid to fight the good fight. This man has shown himself that he'll stay up all night in order to help somebody. And Lord, right now we're praying that he takes and retains his seat.
I think it's interesting watching the juxtaposition of the two campaigns, both celebrating, but kind of in different ways. Katie's campaign and her speech there seemed very ebullient. I mean, really, joyful, and I think she was pretty happy with the position she's in, knowing that progressives vote much later. So, Sandeep, how close is this race going to end up? And I'm going to say this. When Shama Sawant was running, I predicted, I said, oh, she's finished. Boy, was I wrong 9 days later, right? Yeah. So these progressive voters will come out late. So does Bruce have something to worry about here?
He does. Yeah, absolutely. This race is close, right? So right now he's up 7 points. That seems like a comfortable margin. But in the history of Seattle's mayor's races in the last 12 years, we've seen a big move between the election night results and the final count. So sometimes as much as 8, 9, 10 points even. So right now he's up 7. If it's kind of where the average was of the last 3 races, he may lose by a little bit, right? And now if it's a little less than that, he may win. So we're kind of on a knife edge here.
If you look at the screen right now with us, you see the numbers right there. With around, I would say, 20% of the votes in right now, or counted, I should say at the least, 62,086 for Bruce Harrell, and then Katie Wilson, 53,767. So again, as Sandeep was saying, that is about a 7% spread. And when you listen to the things that they were saying before, a couple of minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, we heard from Katie Wilson. And one of the things that she mentioned, which was very interesting to me, Sandeep, I don't know if you caught up on this, but she said that she was proud about going after Harrell's policies, but that she stayed away from going after him personally and about his past. So she made it a point to bring that up in her speech. That was very interesting. What is your take on that?
Well, I think that's technically correct, right? I think Katie, is a sort of policy-oriented person, and I think she did try to keep it at that level, but she also had campaign surrogates, and there was outside money that came in that very much directly did go after the mayor, and vice versa, right? They went after her on her experience in a pretty direct way. So, there's always that sort of dance between the outside money and the campaign money and the campaign candidate's message and the surrogate's message, Right. So there's a little bit of that there. So she can say that, but there's definitely some, some pretty heavy back and forth in this race in the final stage.
Well, he outspent her about, what, 5-1, something like that?
Well, on the campaign side, it was pretty close. On the independent side, it was probably about 3 to 4 to 1. Okay. In his favor. I think the Bruce Harrell IE spent about 1.7, 1.8 million, and on her side there was about 450,000 of outside money.
Okay. He seems very confident that he got some late votes coming in, so we'll see if the money was well spent.
We will see. Like I said, the historical pattern is it goes left, 8, 9 points. He's up 7. We'll see.
But that is significantly more spending, right? Even if you add in the PAC money, as you just mentioned. So are you surprised that when you have a candidate that's overspent the other candidate, that it's this close? Because money does usually talk.
Well, I think money did talk. If you look at the other races races in Seattle right now, the incumbents are going down by significant margins. So
let's do that. We actually have some of the other races here that we can pull up because we've been getting numbers for a council position, number 8. That one has come up, and that's Alexis Mercedes Rink and Rachel Savage. And when we talked to Sandeep on the air in preparation for this a couple of days ago, he was like, "Oh yeah, Rink is going to dominate." And boy, you were not kidding. I mean, she's leading with a wide margin there.
Yeah, well, Rachel Savage is a self-proclaimed Trump Republican running in the city of Seattle. That's not, you know, a winning line to take, and you kind of knew that there wasn't a whole lot of suspense in this race. She got through the primary, but even in the primary, Rink dominated the primary numbers, and so no big surprise.
Let's go to position 9 now, if we can, on the Seattle City Council, and this is a big one, guys, because this is Sarah Nelson. Of course, this is the Seattle City Council president. She's, you know, well known now. She's made a name for herself. A lot of people know her, but clearly the voters are saying, hey, we're not happy with the direction of where you're, you know, leading and how you're, you know, taking Seattle, because Dion Foster there is with a handy lead, 58% to 42%. So, Sandeep, this race, I mean, it's pretty much done for Sarah, no?
It is done, yeah. We will see actually that margin grow in the later counts, just like we'll see Katie gain in the mayor's race. So yes, this race does look over. And again, I think it's indicative of this kind of anti-incumbent tide that we're seeing sort of across a lot of these races. It's one that the mayor's bucking right now. We'll see whether it'll hold up, but in some of these other races you're seeing the outcomes.
Right. But you know what's so interesting, and I think I've asked you about this before, but I think it's important to bring up, because these are not, Sarah Nelson is not a Republican.
No.
She's obviously a Democrat, and some would say that she's moderate, but also some would say that she is more on the left than moderate Democrat. So it's interesting that you say that people were voting against incumbents when they were not for Trump, but yet they're still caught up in this?
Well, I do think, you know, that the city council president, Nelson, has been a kind of, you know, a boogeyman for the left in the city, right? She has been in some long-running fights with folks kind of more on the left side of the spectrum. You've seen folks like The Stranger and other papers sort of really go after Council President Nelson, and so this was quite a polarized race, where you're absolutely right. She's not by any means a Republican. She's not a conservative, even though the left sort of tries to call her that. But she also is not a strong progressive. She's not a lefty, and so that's really how this race played out.
You know, in the city attorney's race, I remember when it changed last time and Ann Davison won. She came in, she changed a lot of things.
Yeah.
She improved efficiency, she speeded up prosecutions so defendants would know, you know, what they were facing. She cleaned up a lot of the stuff, the mess from before. It does not seem to have resonated with viewers. Look at this, Erika Evans leading the incumbent Ann Davison, 63 to 37%. What happened here?
Well, I can sum it up in one word: Republican, right? In the era of Trump being reelected last year, a Republican on the ballot. First of all, when Ann won 4 years ago, I did the independent expenditure campaign to help elect her. She was running against an out-and-out abolitionist candidate, a very far-left candidate who had pledged to end the prosecution of all misdemeanor crimes in the city of Seattle. She was that far out there, except repeat DUIs. And you know, you didn't have Trump as president and this kind of atmosphere that we've been talking about in this political landscape. And so I think it was pretty clear going into this year that Scarlet R for Ann Davison was really going to be an anchor.
So it sounds like we have a one-on-one with Harrell right now, so let's listen in.
There, I can't lose with a family like that. But all of you have been around politics before, so I just want to thank people for believing in me, those that voted for me. We feel very good, and I'm so excited that the education levy passed. Most excited about that, and we put a lot of work into that, so that is clearly a victory. We will claim victory on that.
B&O passed too, by the way.
The B&O tax policy passed such that, and I didn't look at that, I was going to ask quietly, so 90% of our businesses are going to get a tax break so we can make sure that they thrive. So we got some good stuff on the ballot we're excited about.
What do you read into the idea that it looks like there will be a new city attorney? Sarah Nelson looks like she'll be handily defeated, yet you are ahead right now. People were talking about this being a change election. But if you read across all those numbers, that's not necessarily what we're seeing today.
Well, I didn't hear the results, so thanks for sharing that because I haven't looked at those results yet. So we'll see. I mean, again, you know, I don't like commenting on any race, and my race is not over yet. So let's just see how the next days pass. But I want to thank Ann and Sarah for their service. They were very committed to their jobs. They put in some good years, and I want to publicly say thank you, Ann Davison, and thank you, Sarah Nelson. And if they haven't conceded, then we'll see how it plays out. Okay, we're good? Everybody good? All right.
Looking at Prop 1, and if it passes and it continues and we get more money.
You know, education, the education level?
Yes.
What about it?
The fact that it's like moving forward in the direction that you're looking for. How do you feel like seeing more money heading?
The education levy passing is huge for this entire city. Every kid that graduates from Seattle Public Schools like me will go to college for 2 years for free. 4,500 slots of child care and pre-K. This is a game changer. Mental health supports for our kids, our students that are suffering from trauma and they need someone to talk to. That's all there. So this is going to put Seattle on the trajectory we really need it to be. Thank you, voters, for passing the education levy. That is a game changer for our city. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here.
You're looking live at Harrell there, and you just heard him talk about the education levy, otherwise known as Seattle Prop 1. Take a look at that. That is a handy victory for Mayor Harrell in this issue because this is something he's pushed for. So if you're just joining us and you're wondering what does Seattle Prop 1 do? Well, it will raise property taxes. It will replace an existing levy for a larger one, and it will generate $1.3 billion over 6 years, and that money will go to pay for things like affordable childcare, and we're talking about K through 12 resources. And you may have just heard Harold talk about the 2-year free tuition for Seattle colleges. Again, that is Prop 1. It is passing 77 to 23%. I want to go to the other prop, Prop 2, if we can, because this is another big one, and that is a yes for Prop 2. Again, Seattleites saying, yeah, we want to tax large companies to generate extra money. And this is another one, a win for Harrell, because he pushed this along with Alexis Mercedes Rink, the council member. They were pushing this ahead of this campaign, and voters giving them a 68% victory. And what this will do is it will essentially raise the B&O tax for large companies to generate around $81 million additional funding every year. And again, this will go to plug a budget deficit for the city of Seattle, so that will go to the general fund. Next, we want to go to another issue here, Resolution 8201. This is long-term care. You may know it as Washington Cares Fund. And this is interesting because it is going through with 57% of the vote and 43% rejecting. And the reason why this is interesting is because back in 2020, they had a similar ask of voters. They asked people to allow them to change the Constitution so that way they could invest Washington Cares Fund, which is essentially a payroll tax that all of us have money taken out of our paycheck. They're asking us to take that money and invest it in the stock market. Back in 2020, voters said no to this, but now, second time is the charm here, I guess, because 57% of the vote.
Is that just a simple majority, Sandeep, that has to get this, or do they need two-thirds? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they just worded it differently or people have just have more faith in the stock market now. I'm not sure.
I think that the Home Care Workers Union, which has sort of backed, this program from the beginning, really invested a lot of effort and really campaigned hard to pass it this time. Right. They put a lot. I got several mail pieces in my mailbox advocating for it. So there wasn't really an organized campaign against it. So they were able to really get out there in front of the voters and sort of convince them to say yes.
Real quickly, has Seattle or King County ever had a tax they didn't support? I mean, I can't remember one. Maybe.
It has been a long time since we have lost a levy campaign in the city of Seattle. Now, these margins, though, are fat, right? These are big margins, especially when the education levy, the Families Education Preschool and Promise levy, 77%. That's a $1.3 billion levy, which is much bigger than the old version. It is a renewal, but it's much bigger. and yet they're still getting 77% of the vote. So it shows you that there's a lot of support for this kind of investment.
Yeah, so you had mentioned too that the B&O tax, even before today, you said, yeah, you thought that it was going to pass. That is not a surprise to you. However, you know, I've asked this of Mayor Harrell and I've asked this of Katie Wilson prior to today, and I said, look, if you pass taxes on large companies, right? You saw when the Jumpstart tax went into effect, Amazon left, took some of their positions. Do you not worry that this is going to impact large companies to say, you know what, we're going to invest in AI, we're going to shift our money elsewhere. We're in very weird times right now. How do you see this playing out?
Some of that's already happening, right? We've been seeing Amazon moving jobs over to Bellevue, right? They just announced a whole bunch of 14,000 layoffs, including 2,000 layoffs locally. So I do think there is a concern here that if you turn the dials and knobs on taxes on business too much, just in the city of Seattle, it's not that hard to kind of go elsewhere and be able to operate on a cheaper cost basis for them. So that's absolutely an issue going forward, especially like, let's say Katie Wilson ends up winning this mayor's race. She said she wants to come out and she's got a whole agenda of stuff that she wants to fund, which is going to require new revenues. And she's a progressive. She's going to want to do progressive revenues on business. So that will be on top of this. And I think that's going to be an increasing consideration going forward if she wins.
Lord help us. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Well, it's midterms, but there are some big elections nationally. Let's go to Sabira Rayford in the newsroom with some of that coverage. Sabira?
It's a big night indeed, especially for the Democratic Party. Heading first to America's largest city, it's one of the biggest turnouts in the New York City's voting history. The race for mayor newcomer Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani comes out on top. Mamdani beat out former Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo, who ran as an independent and framed himself as the moderate option in the race. Mamdani, a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist, is the city's first Muslim mayor. At 34 years old, he's the youngest New York City mayor elected in generations. generations who could carve a new path forward for the Democratic Party. This is a look at Mamdani headquarters in Brooklyn, where he wrapped up his victory speech. We're working to turn that sound around for you, and we do know that Andrew Cuomo has officially conceded. In Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger will become the first female governor in the state's history. Spanberger beat out Republican candidate Winsome Earl Sears, the former congresswoman and case officer with the CIA, flipping Virginia back blue after 4 years of Republican control.
Tonight we turned a page. We turned that page by listening to our neighbors, focusing on practical results, laying out a clear agenda, and leading with decency and determination.
The Democratic sweep continues in New Jersey, with voters electing Democrat Mikey Sherrill to be the state's next governor. Sherrill beat out Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli. The former congresswoman and Navy helicopter pilot centered her campaign around making New Jersey more affordable. In her victory speech, she spoke about lowering taxes, health care, and energy costs.
In this state, I am determined to build prosperity for all of our citizens. And I've heard from thousands of you about what liberty and prosperity mean to you, what it's going to take for your family to thrive. So I hear you, Newark. I'm going to work with communities from the ground up so all of our neighbors thrive.
And in California, voters approved Proposition 50. It will give the Democratic-controlled state legislature the power to redraw the state's congressional districts. Now, Democrats will have a shot at winning as many as 5 additional seats. The move comes after Texas Republicans voted to redraw their own maps, picking up 5 GOP seats. David, Hannah, back to you.
All right, Sabira, thank you so much for that national update here. And let's take a look at some state races. This is District 26. This is a Senate position. Again, take a look. You've got a Democrat there, Deb Krishnadasan at 53% and Michelle Caldier, Republican, at 47%. This is an interesting race because a lot of money poured into this very last minute because of the fact that Michelle Caldier, who is the Republican, you know, the Republicans were pushing for this because right now, as many people know, in the state legislature, we've got almost a supermajority when it comes to Democrats. The Republicans thought, hey, that this is a path for them to get one more Republican into that state Senate race. And this is interesting, Sandeep. I do want to bring you into this because 53 to 47 at this point, is this too close at this point?
It's still too close to call, I would say, but I think it's pretty likely that Krishnadasan is now in a good position to prevail here. And I would say, you know, this race and some of these other ledge races were not just Democrat and Republican fights, but they became proxies for the rupture between the business community on one side and progressives in the legislature on the other. There was a lot of business money that flowed into this race for Caldier and in some of these other legislative races too. I think as the business community was trying to send a message here, now they look like they're coming up short in this race.
All right, we've got results now in the Tacoma mayor's race. Anders Ibsen is leading John Hines, 54% to 46%. AJ Janavel is at Anders' watch party tonight. Anders there celebrating, I imagine, with these numbers coming in. AJ?
Yeah, getting those early numbers coming in, David, and was just talking to him about how he's feeling. As we've mentioned throughout the night, these are just the preliminary numbers. Things are early, but with him up, I'd like to ask you, Anders, thank you for taking time, first of all, to talk to us. How are you feeling at this point in the evening?
Beyond grateful. Now the work starts.
Now, I've already talked to you about this, but you have been on this council. You have pushed to bring change. You stepped away from the government, and now you're wanting to come back. Why would you want to come back to a position like this?
Sure, well, we had term limits before, so I put my 8 years in, and that's how the law works. But fundamentally, this is my hometown. I love this place to death. I've seen it change, both for the better as well as the recurring challenges, and I'm committed to building on the successes and seeing what we do to fix the gaps.
Now, still early on, nothing's official, but if tomorrow was your first day as mayor, what would you want to do? What would you want to kind of get out, hit the ground running?
The work is starting tomorrow. And so what I'm going to do to that end is I'm going to start making phone calls to members of the council, the administration, like the city manager, department directors, key community leaders to see where the areas of consensus are so we can hit the ground running.
I want to ask you, this is a party. It's not just a watch party. This is a party. Yeah. Who are these people, and how, if at all, did they help you through this process?
Oh, they're dear friends, volunteers, community members, and they're the reason why I'm here tonight. Is because of not just the support of people that I spoke to personally at the door, but tireless volunteers who volunteered in all manner of weather, walked all number of different neighborhoods throughout the city, and this is very much a grassroots people power campaign, and it's the same kind of energy that I want to lend more to City Hall.
Now, I was talking to members of your team earlier in the evening. They were telling me how much effort you put into this campaign yourself, going out, knocking on doors yourself months ago. Just the work that went into this. I'm sure along that process you met so many members of the city of Tacoma. For us, Tacoma is such a big part of Fox 13 Seattle. For the folks who aren't here but are watching at home, what would you like to tell those people?
Well, again, besides thank you, my mission is to do better. That's fundamentally what this campaign has been about, and what people have implored and asked and talked about is not just the important issues of the day like public safety, homelessness, getting our budget under control, protecting our constitutional rights against federal overreach, but the approach that we do. How can we inspire better confidence with how we listen to you, how we include you, how we act on what you tell us is important? That's what I'm committed to.
One thing that stood out as a candidate for you as opposed to your opponent was your background with your career. You are a business owner. You know how things work outside of just being a member of government. How is that impactful? How can you take your business-minded skill set and introduce that to the government here in Tacoma?
Well, it's similar to my prior experience on the city council, which I'd say the most immediate relevancy would be hiring. Because besides being a private employer myself, during my time on the city council, I participated in the hiring of 2 city managers and a utility director. And that's probably the most, besides the budget, the most immediately crucial thing that the city council has to work on is getting a really qualified, community-minded person to help with the day-to-day implementation of important policy, and doing so in a way that inspires confidence in the public so that they're set up to succeed and to do well.
I want to ask you, the mayor who comes into this role for the city of Tacoma is coming into a very unique situation where there is a lot of open positions. You have interims in both the police department as well as the city as far as the manager is concerned. As you have that possibility of taking that role, what would you like to see, if at all, with change, with those 2 huge roles that make a city kind of operate?
Leading with community. So another good example besides the city manager would be the police chief. We have a very successful, by all measurements, very well-respected interim police chief. So in setting up the process by which that position gets confirmed to full-time, what are the metrics that our community members tell us is most important for judging the performance of not just that position, but positions in general? And not even just those top hires, but leading with community in general when it comes to major decisions. How can we best inspire confidence?
The last thing I want to ask you is not a question, but with the opportunity that you have right now and moving forward, what would you like to say? What would you like the people of the city to hear? What would you like to leave them with?
To the people who voted for me, thank you so much. I aspire to live up to your expectations and to exceed them. To the people who did not vote for me, I applaud you for voting all the same, and I'm still your mayor. And the people who didn't vote in general, who stayed home, who didn't cast a ballot, what better job can we do to earn your confidence to participate in general? So that's something I'm very committed to, is making sure that we give you a reason to see us as relevant in your day-to-day life. How can we do a better job?
I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us with everything else that's going on. Good luck with the rest of the evening, and I will send it back to David and Hannah.
All right, AJ, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, so now we want to take a look at the latest on the Everett mayor. So we were from Tacoma to Everett, but as we know, we told you about 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, Cassie Franklin looked really happy because she said, hey, we were leading, and so, you know, here it is, the numbers right there. She's leading, but not by too much. I mean, this is going to be a big nail biter for sure, you know, as far as this race goes.
Well, you know, crime has been an issue here. The grocery store left, and, you know, some people said that the grocery store left because they had too much crime. She says, no, we've worked with the grocery store really hard to try to do everything to keep them, and they left because their profits were too small. Then this week, I get an email from a ferret rescue saying, we're leaving Everett because there's too much crime. A ferret rescue is leaving Everett because there's too much crime. So I think whatever it is, the people of Everett are turning out to vote, and this is way too close to call. So Cassie Franklin's got a long tenure there in Everett. We'll see what happens, though, with Scott Murphy proving to be a strong challenger.
Yeah, 8 years in office. We'll see what happens in this race. We will be right back after a quick break.
All right, you decide. Our 2025, our election coverage continues. Let's take a look at some of the latest numbers that we have to bring you up to date if you're just joining us here at the top of the 9 o'clock. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell is leading right now over challenger Katie Wilson, 54 to 46%. We'll delve into this in a little bit, but even though that is a pretty healthy lead, not enough when you consider a lot of progressives will vote very late. So expect these numbers to tighten up in the days ahead. It will be a photo finish at the very end. So we'll be monitoring this every day. By the way, we get more numbers again tomorrow at about 4:15. We'll be updating those on our newscast on Seattle News Tonight and on our website, fox13seattle.com.
All right, so take a look at this one, Seattle Council position number 2. And this was an open seat, right? So you've got 2 new faces here. Eddie Lynn, 69% of the vote to Adonis Ducksworth, 31% of the vote there. So, yeah, that one's an easy one for Lynn. And then another easy one for incumbent Alexis Mercedes Rink for position 8, 79% to Rachel Savage, 21%. So this was really, that one was not a surprise. A lot of people were expecting that vote. Dion Foster, position 9 for Sarah Nelson. Sarah Nelson is the Seattle City Council president. She's coming in at 42% to Dion Foster, 58%. So it looks like it's over for Nelson there, and also over for Ann Davison, the current city attorney. She's only coming in at 37% of the vote with Erika Evans, 63%. Erika Evans has a past working for Pete Holmes. That was the city attorney prior to Ann Davison. So you kind of have a full circle moment there. And then this one, King County Executive Girmay Zahilay and Claudia Balducci. Wow, this is going to be a nail biter. 50.8% to 49.2%. And of course, as David Rose just mentioned, you know, these votes, they're going to be shifting because at 4:15 tomorrow, more numbers are going to come in. We have Sandeep Kaushik, our Fox 13 political analyst, to, you know, give us all the layers of this. Let's start with the King County executive race. Wow, that's a close one.
It is a close race, way, way, way too close to call, and a little like the Seattle mayor's race. I think we're going to be waiting a couple of days at least here before we're going to look at the trend line, like what's the drop tomorrow, and does it move a little bit more in Girmay's direction? Does it move in Claudia's direction? Then on Thursday, you can start to see, like, if it's breaking one way or the other. We'll get a sense of how it might shake out. But right now, you know, it's close. I mean, this is a race where they both ran as progressives. I think it was a little hard for voters to kind of substantively differentiate from them. So it became kind of a race about vibes to a big extent, right? Like Girmay's a kind of young, charismatic, you know, up-and-comer. Claudia's the experienced veteran who, you know, ran the jail system, has been, you know, was a mayor of Bellevue and at the county for a long time. And so we were talking about this before. I sort of said, you know, it's a kind of the race between like Air Jordans on one side and sensible shoes on the other, right? You know, and which way?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a very good analogy. It kind of depends too on where people voted, right? In downtown Seattle, you might expect Zahilay to do well in some parts, but then King County's a big county, right?
Yes.
So did voter turnout pick up a lot today? It did where I was voting. I waited in line behind a bunch of cars to
we were seeing a lot of ballots come in the yesterday. I assume that pattern continued today. I think probably we're going to have to see what the turnout numbers are as those ballots trickle in. But I think we'll probably get to a kind of, you know, average level of turnout according to the historical pattern. Now, 4 years ago, we had turnout in Seattle of 56%. We had very high turnout 4 years ago. We'll probably get more like 50%, something like that when all is said and done.
Okay, all right, interesting.
Yeah, so we want to go to Jennifer Dowling because Jennifer Dowling is at, you know, Bruce Harrell's watch party. I know Bruce Harrell's been talking to media, and we've heard from him a lot. So what's the vibe there now? You know, what are people saying? Because, Jennifer, I want to just fill you in on what our political analysts have been talking about. Right now, we know that Harrell cannot go home and just be sleeping easy because of the fact that the 7% gap is not this astounding lead right now. Is that kind of what you're hearing a little bit from people there, or is it just mostly positive?
Well, here amongst the supporters, it is mostly positive, and he did say it was a tough fight, and it will be a tough fight ahead. He wanted to say that they did fight the good fight, so there was a lot of words about fighting, and it's a long haul. He knows knows that, supporters know that, but tonight they are definitely jubilant that he is coming out ahead. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see all the action at the party right now. We've got a lot of people still here. Bruce has stepped out for a bit. We're not sure if he's coming back, but the party remains strong. There are people here congratulating one another. These are all supporters. It was invite only, and people just feeling joyous that this first night, this first reading has gone in his favor. He did say in his latest speech that he was in a better position than Katie Wilson, his opponent at this point. He said they've got a lot of votes at the last minute. He emphasized that. He was grateful for that. Now let's take a listen to his reaction just immediately following that vote count when he thanked his family.
The point about family is we're all family now. We are all family. This is a tough fight, and I could go to every table and shake every hand and talk about my history with you or my family's history with you. Many of you are friends of the family. We know, as I said earlier, that the fight we're trying to fight are to shelter and house people. We know that. We're trying to feed people. People are out of SNAP benefits. There are people hungry right now. There are people worried about where they're going to sleep right now. You care. It really upsets me when people don't think that we don't care. We've been doing this work for decades and decades.
And he did tell his supporters that this was, quote, one for the history books, and he says they have really come together to fight this good fight the past 90 days. He told me that he felt the thing that would push him over the edge against his opponent, Katie Wilson, was his experience level and his policies. He also talked tonight about how he was happy about the passing of the education levy and also the business tax. He was feeling pretty good about those numbers coming in for those as well. So he's having a great night tonight, but again, it's a long road ahead. Everyone knows that. They're going to be watching those returns come in the days ahead. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Jennifer, thank you. Let's talk about the numbers a little bit in the mayor's race, because when you look at these numbers, you see the percentages, you have to realize you're only talking about 23% of the votes that they have that have been counted. So there's a lot of votes left out there. Sandeep, I'm just going to bring you in real quick because you're kind of the math guy here. We're journalists, right? We're not good at math. Help us out here, though, when you're talking about statistical realities and the numbers of votes. Can we expect big changes tomorrow, or really more like 3 or 4 days from now?
I think it's going to be a couple of days. Typically, the Wednesday drop, the day after the election, is not that big, and so you'll get a little bit of an indication. But that Thursday drop is often, historically, it's a big drop, and that often kind of gives you some more clarity about which way stuff is headed. But if it's close, this could go Friday. You know, I mean, who knows? In the next week, it's happened before, where we waited, you know, more than a few days. So we're just gonna have to see.
But you know what's so annoying is that people in New York, they found out who their mayor was just instantly, almost like an hour. And here we are in Seattle, have to wait for a couple of days. But I guess that is just how our system
Well, we got the mail-in, you know,
vote by mail.
You know, this is how we do it here. That's how they like to do it. They think it's safer. So let's go out and see what's going on in Katie Wilson's campaign. Alejandra Guzman there, and I think they're pretty happy with the numbers too, aren't they, Ali?
They really are, and don't be fooled. We've got plenty of volunteers starting to pick up and gather everything around here. There's a little bit more breathing room. If Pablo, you'll swing the camera around, there's still a lot of folks, maybe not behind me, but over here, maybe towards the entrance of El Centro de la Raza, we still have quite a crowd. But let me just be clear that Katie Wilson was probably one of the first ones out, despite saying that she felt very optimistic about tonight's results. She called them very promising numbers. And I want to take you back, for those of you who may have missed this first hour of when those ballots started to come in, and she said that she remembered that night that she actually told her husband, I want to run for mayor of Seattle, and just how supportive he's been from that very moment, and just how many people have gathered here, because she returned to a historic site. I want to take a moment to emphasize what El Centro de la Raza has really meant for the city of Seattle, for activism, for culture, and she actually held her primaries watch party here, and how fitting that she returned back to this very same site. She's been very hopeful about tonight. She was a little nervous, but in speaking with a few inside sources, they told me that this 7% margin was actually within what they anticipated, but she's very hopeful. She's very proud of her campaign. She's pushing forward towards transportation, raising minimum wage, and of course just emphasizing on housing affordability and creating solutions to solve our homelessness crisis here in Seattle. But I want you to hear exactly some of the words that she shared within this room alongside her husband and their toddler Josie. Take a listen.
I am just so proud of all of you. I'm so proud that we ran a campaign rooted in hope for the future, not fear or anger. I'm proud that we ran a clean campaign, criticizing the incumbent's record and policies, but not going after his character, his lifestyle, his family, or his past. I am proud of all the voters who have seen past the bad faith attacks funded by the biggest corporate PAC in Seattle election history, almost $2 million.
So again, she's very grateful. She's very proud of the support that she's received. And again, she wants to emphasize that the 7% margin is just the beginning. She's hopeful that the tide will turn, especially in the days to come. So you have to stay tuned exactly how our analysts were saying just in the next couple days, maybe Thursday, Friday, because again, she says that this is going to change in the other direction. And she's positive that Seattle wants change, not just to City Hall, but just in general in the direction that Seattle needs to go. Of course, something will continue to follow, but for now, David Hannock.
All right, Allie, thank you so much. So now we want to go over and check in on what's going up on the North Sound, that is in the Everett mayor's race. Take a look right there, 53% to 47%. So, you know, this one's still close. If Cassie Franklin can hold on to this, you know, small lead, she is going to be able to eke out Scott Murphy. She's been in office for 8 years now. She wants, you know, another 4 years. When I interviewed her recently, she had mentioned that she is proud of her public safety record, despite the fact that there were some people who are pushing back exactly on that issue when it comes to public safety, saying that parts of Everett is just not safe enough. And we had places like Fred Meyer that David Rose was talking about earlier that left Casino Road, saying that, hey, look, we've been years dealing with property crime and theft, and they just had enough, they said. Cassie Franklin coming out and basically saying, hey, look, I don't believe them. I worked with them. So there was that kind of back and forth between Fred Meyer, you know, corporate, what they're saying, and her. She's saying, I really worked with them. They chose profit over people. That's what she said on that issue. So really interesting. Yeah, well, let's go up to Shira, and she's with Cassie Franklin's campaign. She's at their headquarters, and she spoke with the incumbent mayor a little bit earlier. Shira?
Hi, you know, or just moments ago, they found out the news here that she was leading in those results, and the whole room really erupted in cheers. And actually, it looks like someone's trying to make an announcement right now. Oh, guess it's over. But this whole area, they were cheering. They were very excited. They were taking pictures with one another. They were embracing, very excited about those results coming in, even albeit as early as they are, but very excited regardless. And even when we saw Scott Murphy on the television screens, this area was also booing it as well. But, you know, I talked with Cassie Franklin earlier, and she was telling me that she was eager to hear those results, but she was also excited and nervous. Take a listen to what she had to say.
I want them to know how grateful I am for this community. We really came together. We ran a strong, very positive campaign, pro-Everett, and I think that we can be proud of that no matter what.
You can see she's out here embracing folks right now. They're giving hugs to one another. Very excited still about those results coming in. But we did also talk with Scott Murphy earlier today at his watch party. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Everett is a great city. We've got so much going for us. You know, amazing parks and a beautiful waterfront and great schools and lots of arts and culture. So we've got a lot going for us, but we've got some serious challenges. And so I'm not running because I think everything is perfect. I'm running because I think we need to make a difference in certain key areas, whether it's public safety, homelessness, the city's finances. So I believe our future is bright, but we've got to start tackling some of these pressing problems. And that's what I'm hoping to do in January, roll up my sleeves and make a difference.
Franklin is the first woman to be elected as mayor here in Everett. You can see she's all smiles here right now. Hi, we're live again. Do you want to come talk to us again? Well, real quick, how are you feeling now that these results are coming in?
I'm feeling great.
great. It's wonderful to see that lead that we wanted to see. I look forward to getting the rest of the ballots in the next couple of days, and hopefully we continue that lead.
Are there still any concerns happening right now, or how are you feeling right now in terms of?
I'm feeling very confident, but I want to make sure that every ballot matters, every ballot counts, and so we want to make sure they're all counted, and hopefully we see this momentum continue.
What do you want folks to know who might be watching right now, and maybe they're still waiting for those results as well? What do you want them to know?
I'm sorry.
You're fine. What do you want folks to know who are watching right now?
I just want to say I love this community. I really appreciate the community coming out, using their voice. Local elections matter, and I'm excited to serve for the next 4 years if that's the case.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time. Of course, we will be out here all night as well, and you can see this crowd. It was thinning out for a moment, but now it's kind of come back, and people are coming back, and they're very excited about those results so far. In the meantime, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Shara, thank you so much. And Cassie Franklin looking happy there. Of course, we're going to have a lot more to talk about after this quick break. Keep it here.
All right, welcome back. Let's talk about the biggest job in King County, and this is a huge job. I mean, they have a lot of power. They're involved in a lot of stuff, and that's the King County Executive. Girmay Zahilay, 50.8% of the vote, leading. It's a slim margin over Claudia Balducci. And we've heard from Girmay a little bit earlier, and he seemed very, very happy. Take a listen.
For those of you who haven't seen yet, we broke the 50% mark, which is an amazing place to be. And unfortunately, I have to be the cautiously optimistic one in this building and tell you there are still many votes to count, right? But one thing that we know from the primary election is our campaign goes nowhere but up. Is that right? We go up. We're going to the top. In the primary, out of the field of 8 candidates, we were the only campaign to grow their vote share night in and night out. And I can't promise you that will happen this time, but I'm telling you that I have a really good feeling.
All right, so there you hear it. Girmay Zahilay, all smiles. We want to go now to Claudia Balducci to see what she had to say about it.
We closed the gap a lot from the primary to tonight, and so I'm feeling really good about that. It is still too close to call. Election night, it's a fairly small batch of ballots that get counted. There's a lot more coming in the coming days, so we're going to have to wait and see how the votes go. I mean, I am super proud and very, very happy with the level of support that we've received. So many people who worked for the campaign, helped us to get out the vote, held events. It's been an amazing surge of support, especially in the last few weeks, and I hope to see that results in a late turnout that will be helpful, and will move that number up.
Yeah, this will be really fascinating to watch over the next couple of days.
Yeah, for sure. And let's also take a look at our state races. These are important as well. You know, we got almost a supermajority when it comes to Democrats in Olympia, and so a lot of Republicans were hoping at least they could, you know, switch 2 seats to Republican. And if you take a look on the screen right there, Michelle Caldier is the Republican, and Deb Krishnadasan is the Democrat there, with Deb leading 53% to 47% for District 26. And that area, District 26, if you're not familiar, that's areas like Gig Harbor, Bremerton, and Port Orchard. Now let's go to another legislative race here, District 5. This one, another big one. This was going to be a big deal for the Republicans, but it does not look like they're going to be able to do it. Chad Magandance with only 45% of the vote, with Victoria Hunt with 55% of the vote, and that is District 5. So that area consists of a swath of East King County all the way down to Enumclaw there. And another race that we are closely following, take a look, District 48, State Senator, you got there Amy Whalen, 43%, trailing Vandana Slatter there at 57% in that race. So that one, that's a pretty healthy lead. So Slatter there feeling pretty good tonight. Now this one.
Well, I'm fascinated with this race because Kevin Schilling was the Burien mayor, is the Burien mayor, running against Edwin Obras. Now, he's up 52 to 48%, but just in full disclosure, Sandeep did not work on any other campaigns, but he did work on this one.
I did the independent expenditure
for Kevin Schilling.
For Kevin Schilling.
Yeah, so your candidate is leading, and you do have a history of picking winners. But over and above, our audience will be familiar with this, with Kevin, because we've covered that Burien homeless crisis so much, where they wanted to clean up the streets. He sued the King County executive, saying they're not enforcing. They talked about, are they going to have their own police force? Are they still going to contract with King County? I mean, he's been through a lot here. How do you feel about your candidate leading at this point?
I love the fact that he's leading. We'll see whether it holds up. Again, we're going to have to wait for the later counts. But, you know, this is one of those races where a lot of money flowed into this race, just like in that race in the 5th and the one in the 26th. But, you know, this was a Democrat on Democrat fight, unlike the D versus R fights we saw in those other races. And right now, Kevin's the more kind of moderate, sort of maverick Democrat, and Edwin is a strong progressive. And right now, you know, the mayor of Burien is winning, and you know, seems to be in a pretty decent place. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see whether it holds up.
Okay, let me just ask you in general.
Yeah.
Why do the Republicans have such a hard time fielding a candidate? I mean, they're not even coming close tonight.
Well, look, again, this is another aspect of the Trump effect. And watch, Trump is the president of the United States. He defines the Republican Party. He is not popular in Washington State, particularly in Western Washington.
Well, not in Western Washington.
Yeah, not in Western Washington.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and, you know, we saw probably, you know, 10, 15 years ago that the suburbs, which used to be more mixed and more evenly divided, that 5th district race, that used to be a swing district 15 years ago when I first started. In fact, it was a Republican district when I first started. Then it became a swing district. Now, that was a district that Kamala Harris won by, like, I don't know, almost 20 points or something, right? It has become a Democratic district. So even though a bunch of money went in that race to try to elect the Republican, you can see it's fallen way short.
But the reason why it is so important, the balance of power here, even if you are a Democrat, for example, you might not agree with, for example, maybe a far left policy that's coming out, or maybe major taxes is coming out. And in 2026, we're going to have another legislative session. There's also talk now of more taxes, even potentially an income tax tax in some form. So when you have almost a supermajority of Democrats, right, there's almost like a lack of balance in some ways, and some people would say. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I would agree with that. Look, the Republicans in Olympia have largely been sidelined on these big issues about taxation and stuff like that. So the real fights, Hannah, to your point, are happening within the Democratic Party. Right. And so these races matter. Some of these, like the D on D race we were just talking about in the 33rd, right? That's the two sides of the Democratic Party you're seeing sort of battling it out here. And what's happened, as not only as the Democratic majorities have grown in Olympia, but the caucuses themselves have gotten bluer. They've gotten more progressive each election cycle. Fewer moderates, more progressives. It's sort of tilting in one direction. So, you know, so that's the dynamic that we've seen, and you're right, it has a big impact.
And what's interesting about that is, and the reason why I think a lot of people may not be paying attention, is when they come up with the budget in Olympia, when you talk to these lawmakers, Republicans do not have a seat at the table. And the reason why that matters is because, obviously, when you talk about policy, you want different ideas in the room, and therefore that they can brainstorm. But if it's just one side, that's why you have some Republicans who say, hey, look, you know, this is going to be a problem. But of course, if you are a far-left Democrat, this is a big win for you.
That's right. You know, I mean, look, there's always a danger of groupthink when when everybody on your team kind of is thinking exactly the same way. You know, it's easy to kind of get into a bubble and maybe lose touch with the voters themselves. We will see this last
and then
session.
you end up with the largest tax increase in the history of Washington.
Well, last session we had a big tax increase, so the progressives wanted a lot more, right? They wanted $21 billion in taxes. They got $9 billion, right? And I do think we're going to have this conversation about taxes again in the short session coming up, and you know, we'll see how it plays out with the public. Next year is a big legislative election year, right? So if you're going to start talking about, as Democrats, talking about an income tax and stuff like that, that's been a third rail in Washington State. I did the last 2010, I did 1098, the last income tax campaign. We got killed statewide, right, on that. And I don't know whether, you know, some of my Democratic colleagues and friends really kind of remember the lessons of that race. We're going to find, maybe things have changed. We'll find out, but you know, if that stuff goes forward.
All right, Sandeep, thank you. Of course, it's not just happened here, it happened nationally as well. The Democrats having a huge night. Let's go to Sabira in the newsroom.
Guys, yes, it was a big night for the Democratic Party, as David just mentioned, heading first to America's largest city. It's one of the biggest turnouts in New York City's voting history. In the race for mayor, newcomer Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani comes out on top. Mamdani beat out former Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo, who ran as an independent and framed himself as the moderate option in the race. Mamdani, a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist, is the city's first Muslim mayor. At 34 years old, he's the youngest New York City mayor elected in generations, who could carve a new path forward for the Democratic Party. Take a listen to his speech.
New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change, a mandate for a new kind of politics, a mandate for a city we can afford, and a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
Moving now to Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger will become the first female governor in the state's history. Spanberger beat out Republican candidate Winsome Earl Sears, the former congresswoman and case officer with the CIA, flipping Virginia back blue after 4 years of Republican control.
Tonight we turned a page. We turned that page by listening to our neighbors, focusing on practical results, laying out a clear agenda, and leading with decency and determination.
This Democratic sweep continues in New Jersey, with voters electing Democrat Mikey Sherrill to be the state's next governor. Sherrill beat out Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli. The former congresswoman and Navy helicopter pilot centered her campaign around making New Jersey more affordable. In her victory speech, she spoke about lowering taxes, health care, and energy costs.
In this state, I am determined to build prosperity for all of our citizens. And I've heard from from thousands of you about what liberty and prosperity mean to you, what it's going to take for your family to thrive. So I hear you, Newark. I'm going to work with communities from the ground up so all of our neighbors thrive.
In California, voters approved Proposition 50. It will give the Democratic-controlled state legislature the power to redraw the state's congressional districts. Let's take a look at those maps. Democrats will have a shot at winning as many as 5 additional seats. The move comes after Texas Republicans voted to redraw their own maps, picking up 5 GOP seats. And now to Pennsylvania, where all 3 of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court justices who sought re-election will get another term. The results mean that Democratic jurists will keep the majority on the presidential battleground state's highest court. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Sabir. Appreciate it. I'm going to be honest. I listen to Fox News a lot on the radio when I'm in the car. And you would think the world's coming to an end with Mamdani winning. But how serious are the concerns that this is a communist socialist that's winning in New York? How's he going to pay for all the things he wants to do? What's your reaction to what's happening there?
Well, look, I think Republicans are going to try to use it, you know, turn him into a boogeyman. He is a Democratic socialist, right? He's the Katie Wilson of New York, right? In some ways, right? Or vice versa.
He couldn't even get Barack Obama's, endorsement. So, but he does seem to have a groundswell of support.
But look, there is an ongoing sort of debate and battle within the Democratic Party right now, nationally, about which direction they're going. Obviously, 2024, losing all the swing states, Trump winning again, that's a searing defeat. There's been a lot of fallout from that. And we're seeing 2 sides of this. On the one hand, New York City, look, they're electing Zohran Mamdani. Maybe we're going to elect Katie Wilson, a self-proclaimed socialist here in Seattle. On the other hand, look at those gubernatorial races. Abigail Spanberger, Democrat, former CIA agent. Mikey Sherrill is a helicopter pilot in the military. It's a very,
These aren't left-wing woke candidates.
Yeah, these are, you're seeing the 2 sides of the Democratic Party. So this debate that's going on in the party, this is not resolving it. This is just going to go on. We get, there's a lot of ammo here for both sides.
But I do want to ask you, Sandeep, so if Katie Wilson manages to win this race, we're talking about an East Coast and a West Coast socialist running these big cities, right?
Yeah.
Do you see them being the future of the Democratic Party?
No, well, look, it's one thing to win a race in a big blue city like Seattle or like New York, where these are very, very progressive urban, areas. It's another thing to take that statewide or national, right? Look, I don't think Zohran Mamdani could, first of all, he wasn't born in the United States, so he can't run for president, but I don't think you could take that message, and I think it's very unlikely you could be successful on a national stage with it. That's not going to play in Georgia or Arizona or some of these other swing states, the industrial Midwest. Well, but it plays in New York City, it plays in Seattle, right? And so that's the divide in the party, and that's the debate.
Well, we'll see if we have the Texas Stock Exchange instead of the New York Stock Exchange. If 1 million people move out of New York like they're predicting. So we'll find out in the days ahead. All right, thank you very much, Sandeep.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back in to You Decide General Election Night 2025. It has been a very busy night, of course, one of the big races, Seattle mayoral race. Take a look right there. Bruce Harrell, 54% to Katie Wilson, 46%, with only a 7% spread right now. Too close to call. We expect these numbers to shift, maybe significantly, maybe not, but we just don't know. What we do know is that Bruce Harrell was very positive earlier in the night during the watch party. That's where we had Jennifer Dowling all night. Jennifer, so I know it's been a while, not sure if the mayor is still there. So what's going on right now?
He is not here right now. He has left the building, but there are still some supporters here, although things are winding down at this watch party here in Seattle tonight. The mayor, during his initial speech, thanked his family just after that first reading of the vote drop came down just after 8 o'clock. He said it was a tough fight, and he said they really got a lot of, quote, last-minute votes in this election, which he was very appreciative of. He also talked about how his campaign was run. Take a listen.
Well, that's the question. I mean, every day we'll watch it, we hope, but we know we've run a good campaign. We got the message out. Certainly there was a narrative between two different and distinct types. You know, we think we ran a stronger platform. We think we're more experienced and qualified for this job, and we'll see how the vote count plays out, but I'd rather be where we are than where she is right now.
He was also very pleased that the education levy was passing. He was also happy about the business tax being supported. So he's had a good night, he said. The crowd here, again, kind of winding down, but a very positive atmosphere. People here believing in the incumbent mayor, believing that he can win when all the votes are counted in the days ahead. But for now, people leaving jubilant that he is ahead tonight in this race. Reporting in Seattle, Jennifer Dowling, Fox 13 News.
Yeah, and they do have a lot to celebrate. I mean, that is a pretty good lead in a normal time for a candidate that's an incumbent. Seattle seems to have a problem. They can't ever elect a candidate to 2 terms. So this seems very fickle. I'm not sure why, but we'll see how he does in the days ahead. He thinks he has a lot of last-minute votes that came in, and that's what he's going to need to stave off all the progressive votes that also come in very late. So we're going to be watching this one really closely in the days ahead.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, of course, Katie Wilson had a lot to say earlier as well. We have Alejandro Guzman, who's been covering that race there. And, Ali, you were inside before, now you're outside. So what's going on?
Oh my gosh, David, Anna, the party's over, the lights are out, Katie has left, but we still have a few supporters hanging out. Let's just say everyone is very optimistic. We've seen folks leaving with their heads held high, all smiles, and of course those yellow and blue Katie Wilson for mayor are still flying high at this hour. Everyone's very positive. It was a complete party earlier, but now, I mean, the party's definitely winded down. Katie herself was very optimistic. She said these numbers are very positive. According to an inside source, they kind of tell me that they anticipated this lead on incumbent mayor Bruce Harrell, but they're very positive that in the next few days, those numbers are going to start to change. And not only did I hear that from my inside sources, but also from voters themselves. They say that as they gathered their friends, their neighbors, their entire community to come out and drop off their ballots, that they were hearing that a lot of them were actually voting for Katie Wilson. So they predict that that number is definitely going to shift their way. Now, will it happen? This is something we're going to have to wait and see. Again, she was very grateful, very thankful for how far her campaign, her volunteers, her husband, and her toddler Josie have been so supportive of her, especially at such a historic site in the city of Seattle in Centro de la Raza. And talking about history, if she were to win, let's not get ahead of ourselves, if she were to win, though, she would be the third ever woman to be elected as a mayor of Seattle. And here's the message that she had for voters tonight. Take a listen.
I will be depending on the support and the pressure and the people power that you all are able to build in the months and the years ahead. It's your work and your initiative that will continue to drive our city and our society forward. And I am so filled with hope because this is your city.
You can hear just how excited and ecstatic every supporter was here tonight. It was a jam-packed El Centro de la Raza. People were kind of scattered all around behind me, as you can still see a few stragglers behind. But the key word of the night, as we heard from a passing voter, was suspense. That is a key word for tonight, because they're just anxiously waiting to see who's going to win, who's going to lead Seattle for the next couple years. And the reality is we won't probably know until maybe Thursday, Friday, as we've been saying. But again, everyone is hopeful that tonight's numbers will just keep moving in their direction. Something, of course, we'll stay on top of. David, Hannah.
All right, Allie, thank you so much. We were kind of joking back here, Allie, that people here on the West Coast, they're not partying till late. In New York, they might still be partying right now.
They will be. They'll be up 4 a.m. They'll be still going. Yeah.
I know. Everyone called it a night at 8:30. They're like, we're leaving. All right, hopefully in the Tacoma race right now, maybe there's some people still partying. I don't know. Anders Ibsen, 54%. John Hines, 46%. The person to answer that question would be AJ Janival. He's been scoping out this race and talking to both candidates here. So AJ, there's some people still behind you?
And I want to be as focused as possible on the political aspect, but if you wanted me to talk about parties, then I will definitely talk about that. This is fun. They got loud music. Everyone is left, though. I don't get it. It is a Tuesday, but I know a lot of the candidates were telling me they took off tomorrow, so I don't have an answer. But New York is the city that never sleeps, and I guess, I don't know, people are sleepless in this city, so I don't know. Find the truth somewhere in between, but it's fun because it's music and they got black lights, so I'm having a good time. That being said, let's talk about the numbers. As you mentioned, the race between Ibsen and Hines is close. Ibsen has that little bit of a lead right now, but as we've been talking throughout the evening, it is so early on, anything can happen. We're hopeful that we'll get more results as the days continue. I mean, of course we'll get more results as the days continue, but when we will get those final results is up in the air. But let's talk about these two candidates. Both of them have history with the city of Tacoma when it comes to the council. Ibsen serving several years ago, Hines on council now. Both of them have similar platforms they ran on. We got a chance to talk to Ibsen right here at his party as those results were just starting to come in about how he's feeling.
Fundamentally, this is my hometown. I love this place to death. I've seen it change, both for the better as well as the recurring challenges, and I'm committed to building on the successes and seeing what we do to fix the gaps.
Earlier in the night, we were at John Hines' watch party, talking to him about everything that he is hopeful going into this evening. When the primary results came out, Hines was behind, but he said that he still felt confident going into tonight. This is what he told me.
I just want to thank everyone who's been a part of this journey. It's been 11 months, you know, all the volunteers, people coming out helping, all the supporters. It's made me feel really good. You know, it's my lifelong dream to be the mayor of the city of Tacoma. I lived here my whole life, and just to see the outpouring support, people have stepped up and really helped me along the way. Just want to say thank you. It's been a really great journey.
Both candidates have been in similar situation. Both have held seats on council. What happens next is an unknown. We are expecting to hear from both Ibsen and Hines tomorrow morning on Fox 13. They are expected to zoom in with us as we are hopeful to get more results. Hannah, David, I'm going to send it back to you. They got the Bee Gees playing. They got the disco ball going. It's Tuesday, but it feels like a Saturday night, if you know what I mean.
At least for you, AJ. Have fun out there. Okay, we'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to our coverage. We're going to give you some of the other results that we have in tonight. Let's take a look at the Everett mayor's race. The incumbent Cassie Franklin leading 53% to Scott Murphy, who's trailing with 47% of the vote. This one still could change some. It could tighten up for sure and probably will in the days ahead. But Cassie Franklin feeling very good about her chances tonight to continue her job as mayor.
Yeah, and I think that we also want to talk about some of the other races as well. For example, before we get to that, we do want to go to Shira Matsuzawa because she has been talking with Cassie Franklin all night. And also you did talk to Scott Murphy, I believe. So what do they have to say, Shira?
You know, Cassie was all smiles out here, Mayor Franklin, just a moment ago. We saw part of that, too, when I checked in with you about a half hour ago, you know, but they got those results, and she was all smiles over here. They were cheering 4 more years, 4 more years. You can see the crowd behind me, though. It's thinning out. It's a little dying down now, but they're still drinking out here. They're still eating food and really just celebrating this lead right now in the polls. But we did talk with Mayor Franklin earlier today, and I asked her about what it was like to be the current mayor of the city, but also, you know, campaign to be reelected. Take a listen to what she had to tell me.
It's been exhausting. You know, it's one thing to run a campaign, but when you're running the campaign and running the city as a strong mayor, it's a lot. So I have been very busy, and I will look forward to having a little bit more time with my daughter and just a little bit more downtime and being able to focus fully on city work.
Of course, her challenger, Scott Murphy, also held a watch party not too far from here in Everett, and we talked with him as well. Take a listen.
It's been a long campaign, about 18 months. We kicked it off here in this very spot, and it seems appropriate to come back here and thank all my volunteers and supporters. I feel pretty good about it. Hopefully we've communicated effectively with the voters in Everett, and it's in their hands.
And back here at Mayor Franklin's watch party, you know, she tells me she is grateful to the community for all of the support, and you can see that support still here, lingering here. It's 9:50, almost 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's a school night, but you can see folks are still out here. They're still enjoying this moment right now. Of course, Mayor Franklin, the first woman to be elected mayor here in Everett, hoping for that 3rd term as well. In Everett, I'm Shira Matsuzawa. We'll send it back to you.
Tell that bar to change that TV behind you to Fox 13's coverage. All right, Shira, thank you. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's talk about the Seattle elections again, because whether you live in Seattle or not, you come to Seattle for a game, for a concert. Everything that happens to Seattle affects all of us. So here's a look at Seattle Council Position 2. Eddie Lynn is leading handily, 69% of the vote over Adonis Ducksworth with 31%. We'll continue on here. Alexis Paredes Rink, Sandeep predicted this in our meetings on election coverage before this, 79% leading over Rachel Savage, 21%, not a big surprise there. And Dion Foster leading over Sarah Nelson. Sandeep, I'm just going to ask you real quick, because you know Sarah Nelson, you've talked to her. She's probably pretty heartbroken by these numbers. What went wrong for her campaign? Because she sort of swept in last time, did a lot of things for public safety, got kind of tied up when it came to trying to expand housing down in the Soto, Georgetown area. And had some pushback, you know, from the unions and that kind of stuff down there. But she ran a hard campaign. Why do you think she's not getting the votes tonight that Dion Foster's getting?
Well, I think in some sense it's that she got into a number of different battles during her tenure, particularly as council president. But as council president, you're also then kind of the face of the council writ large. And I do think some of the frustration that voters have with the status quo, with the state of stuff on the streets, even though they're passing legislation about public safety, it wasn't necessarily translating.
So I want to ask about that, because you're saying that people are fed up with the stepping over drug addicts. They're passing out in the street. They're sick of the trash. They're sick of the areas where they see homeless people, tourists coming to town seeing that. So we're hearing all that they don't feel like the current administration changed that quickly enough. But yet, do they think these more progressive candidates are going to do that?
I think there's hope, right? You know, Katie Wilson. You know, it's funny because 4 years ago the left ran on this very openly abolitionist kind of. We don't like the cops. We want to get rid of police. We want to stop prosecuting crimes. They've changed their tune on that quite significantly. And Katie Wilson was pretty critical of the mayor and saying, "You haven't solved these problems, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it in this progressive way, and I'm going to figure out root cause interventions to help the people, whether they're addicted or whether they're mentally ill, and I'm going to get them." Now, look, if she wins this race, you know, that will be the $64 question. Can she deliver the results she's saying that the mayor hasn't? We will see.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It really is. All right, we'll see what happens.
Let's go over to that city attorney's race right now. Erika Evans, 63%, beating incumbent Ann Davison handily there. And you got Ann Davison, who, you know, recently we had some crime numbers that showed that crime was going down in the downward trajectory. But again, other things came into play here. Erika Evans winning this one. Let's move on to some other issues here. Prop 1, this is an interesting one. This is going to expand an existing levy, make it larger. Your property taxes will go up if you live in Seattle, because this has passed with 77% of the vote. And this exactly is going to basically generate $1.3 billion over 6 years. And it will go to things like expanded childcare and what Bruce Harrell promised, that 2-year free tuition for Seattle colleges. He was very happy about this one passing there. And then let's go to Prop 2. Prop 2 right now, voting 68%, so it's passing. This is the one that raises large taxes for large companies in Seattle. They hope to generate $81 million because, again, going into next year, the city of Seattle will have a budget deficit somewhere around, I want to say $140 million or so. So we have those two there. Lastly here, Resolution 8201, this is approved 57% to 43%. This one is allowing now to change the state constitution in order to invest Washington Cares Fund, which is long-term care, into the stock market instead of just, you know, investing in government bonds. So there you have it. Biggest takeaway for the night.
Well, look, I mean, I think we've got in the marquee races some real nail biters, right? The mayor's race, too close to call. The King County executive's race, too close to call. Some of these, you know, down ballot races, the council races seem pretty definitive. But in the biggies, you know, we're going to be kind of biting our nails here for a couple of days, watching it all play out.
Well, and so will the candidates, and so will the viewers, and that's what we love about election coverage, because your vote decides and it makes a difference. So thank you so much for joining us tonight for our election coverage 2025, and we're going to wrap it up here. We'll have much more for you coming up tomorrow morning. We're going to get all the candidates on, get their reaction after they had hopefully a decent night's sleep. That's going to be on Good Day Seattle tomorrow, so tune in for that. We're going to go all the way till 11 a.m. tomorrow, so the second you wake up, we'll be on all morning long.
That's right, and switch it over now to Fox 13 with Sabira Rayford. She's going to have all the latest news for you, so tune in there.
We begin with election night here in Western Washington and around the country. Results came down just about 2 hours ago. In the race for Seattle mayor incumbent Bruce Harrell leads challenger Katie Wilson 54 to 46%. Let's check in with Fox 13's Jennifer Dowling outside Mayor Bruce Harrell's watch party in Seattle. And Jennifer, how was it tonight?
Well, the mood was definitely electric in the watch party. Things are winding down right now here in South Seattle, but the crowd was jubilant tonight. Harrell took the stage to thank his supporters. He said it was a tough fight, but a fight well fought. He also thanked everyone for their hard work and said it really was those last-minute votes coming in that helped him in this election. He also thanked his family as soon as he got to the stage after that first reading of the votes. Take a listen.
The point about family is we're all family now. We are all family. Yes. This is a tough fight, and I could go to every table and shake every hand and talk about my history with you or my family's history with you. Many of you are friends of the family. We know, as I said earlier, that the fight we're trying to fight are to shelter and house people. We know that. We're trying to feed people. People are out of SNAP benefits. There are people hungry right now. There are people worried about where they're going to sleep right now. You care. It really upsets me when people don't think that we don't care. We've been doing this work for decades and decades.
The mayor also said that they are now, quote, secured in the history books for the fight that they fought no matter what happens in the days ahead. But supporters here feeling hopeful as those votes will come in over the next few days. Reporting live in Seattle, Jennifer Dowling, Fox 13 News.
Jennifer, thank you. Now to Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman, who's outside Katie Wilson's watch party. Allie, how has it been there tonight?
Well, let me just say the doors are locked, lights are out, and the party is officially over. But let's just say that the hope is not, because everyone here is feeling very optimistic. Katie herself said that these numbers are very promising. In fact, I mean, it was a jam-packed El Centro de la Raza as people were hoping to witness Seattle elect its third ever woman as the mayor of Seattle. And let me just say, it's not out of the question yet, because we're still waiting for this 7% margin to kind of decrease. At least that's what folks from Katie's campaign are telling me, that she's feeling very good right now. She's at home resting, recovering from her campaign. But here's what she had to say to you, the voters, and where her campaign has led her. Take a listen.
I am just so proud of all of you. I'm so proud that we ran a campaign rooted in hope for the future, not fear or anger. I'm proud that we ran a clean campaign, criticizing the incumbent's record and policies, but not going after his character, his lifestyle, his family, or his past. I am proud of all the voters who have seen past the bad faith attacks funded by the biggest corporate PAC in Seattle election history, almost $2 million.
As you heard there, everyone very excited. It was a very joyful moment. Again, she's feeling very proud of where this campaign has led her, thankful for her volunteers and every voter who got her this far. But we're going to have to wait and see just how the actual votes come out to be in the next few days. So, of course, you'll have to stay tuned. Sabira, back to you.
Allie, thank you. Let's check back in on our other big races. In the race for Everett mayor incumbent Cassie Franklin leads Scott Murphy 53 to 47%. In Tacoma, the race for mayor is between Anders Ibsen and John Hines, with Ibsen leading 54 to 46%. Taking a look at the race for Seattle City Council for position 2, Eddie Lynn has a sizable lead over Adonis Ducksworth, 69 to 31%. Position 8, it's not even close. Incumbent Alexis Mercedes Rink with a large lead over Rachel Savage. For Seattle City Council position number 9, incumbent and current council president Sarah Nelson is trailing her challenger Dion Foster 42 to 58%. And the race for Seattle City Attorney challenger Erika Evans is leading incumbent Ann Davison. In the race for King County Executive, it's a close race between Girmay Zahilay and Claudia Balducci. Right now, about 4,000 votes separate the two. it's a little too close to call tonight. And for Seattle's Prop 1, voters approving replacing an expiring levy to fund education support services. For Seattle Prop 2, voters are headed to approve the city's business and operations tax. The reform will raise taxes on the city's biggest companies while reducing taxes for the smaller ones. And voters have approved Resolution 8201. That is an amendment which will allow the state to invest money from the Long-Term Care Fund or the Washington Cares Fund into stocks of private companies. Let's check in on some national results, and it's a big night for the Democratic Party. So Ron Mandami, a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist, is New York City's first Muslim mayor. At 34 years old, he is the youngest New York City mayor elected in generations who could carve a new path forward for the Democratic Party. Take a listen to his victory speech.
New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change, a mandate for a new kind of politics, a mandate for a city we can afford, and a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that.
The Democratic sweep continues in New Jersey and Virginia, with voters electing 2 Democratic governors, both women. Abigail Spanberger will become the first female governor in Virginia state's history, and Mikey Sherrill will be New Jersey's next governor. In California, voters approved Proposition 50. It will give the Democratic-controlled state legislature the power to redraw the state's congressional districts. Democrats will have a shot at winning as many as 5 additional seats. The move comes after Texas Republicans voted to redraw their own maps, picking up 5 GOP seats. All right, let's move on over to weather now with meteorologist Claire Anderson.
All right, taking a look at your live Doppler radar this evening, the rain has returned. Light showers across western Washington this evening, out along the coast, around Puget Sound, up towards Bellingham, with some snowflakes up into the Cascades. Not a whole lot of rain, even though it is falling, only a few hundredths of an inch from JBLM, Tacoma, and Olympia. No actual measurable rainfall at SeaTac so far, and a hundredth of an inch up towards Friday Harbor. A little bit of rain out towards Wenatchee and Snoqualmie. Temperatures this evening have been really mild, very close to our average high temperatures for the day and what we actually got to this afternoon. So not a whole lot of changes there. Low 50s for Everett, Arlington, Bellingham, upper 40s for Bremerton and Shelton. The winds are helping. We've got some gusty easterly winds this evening, 20 to 25 miles per hour on Friday Harbor and Hoquiam. Gusty winds along the Cascade foothills. We're seeing 25 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts around Enumclaw, North Bend, and Snoqualmie. Those gusty winds continue into early tomorrow morning. A wind advisory in effect through 4 a.m. Wednesday morning. Potential localized power outages and tree damage not out of the question here. Those wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour. For tonight, those showers do continue with scattered showers to start our morning. Maybe a little bit of dry time at 7 a.m. But another round of rain moves in as our cold front sweeps through on Wednesday. More rain, scattered showers, as well as potential rumbles of thunder into Wednesday evening. Now, looking at our temperatures for tonight, very mild. Upper 40s to low 50s, Seattle, Tacoma, and Bremerton. Upper 40s towards Forks, 42 Wenatchee, mid 40s for Bellingham. Tomorrow, it will be breezy, turning more southerly winds across western Washington. Potential rumbles of thunder and high surf out along the coast. We will see Snoqualmie pass around 40 degrees. No major issues for the mountains with snow either. We will see another round of rain also for Thursday. An atmospheric river moving in. Gusty conditions continue. Showers coming to an end Friday. Drier conditions Saturday into Sunday, with evening showers returning Sunday. Oh my God!
We're seeing terrifying video showing the moment a UPS plane crashed and exploded in Louisville, Kentucky during takeoff. At least 7 people are dead and 11 are hurt. The plane crashed around 5:15 tonight as it was departing for Honolulu. The Louisville airport is only a 10-minute drive from the city's downtown, which sits on the Ohio River.
We didn't hear it, but I just saw it on TV and I got the alerts.
Yeah, how big, how massive were those flames?
They were pretty big.
UPS largest package handling facility, which has hundreds of daily flights and sorts over 400,000 packages per hour, is located in Louisville. We're keeping a close eye on any developments, and we'll bring them to you right here on Fox 13. One person is dead and another is in the hospital after a motorcycle crash in Lakewood. It happened on South Tacoma Way and 100th Street Southwest near I-5 and SR 512 interchange. According to officials, they were involved in a pursuit with that motorcycle driver because they believed it was stolen. We spoke to another driver who was really shaken up.
I looked in my rearview mirror and there was a bunch of police officers coming behind. And then a motorcycle was flying past. He jumps the curb, flies through the Welcome to Lakewood sign, right through it, demolishes it, and ends up about 50, 75 feet past the sign. And the passenger flew over the top and landed 20 feet, maybe 30 feet ahead of the driver. This is worse than the movies.
Deputies say they were not involved in the crash and had backed off before it happened. A person is dead after they were hit by a car in rural Pierce County. The crash happened on State Route 162 in South Prairie around 6 p.m. We've reached out to troopers to learn more, and we're waiting to hear back. There's more news ahead with Fox 13's David Rose and Hannah Kim.
You're watching Seattle News Tonight on Fox 13 and streaming on Fox Local.